Girl in the Bubble is this pivotal moment for Glinda. It is the moment where she actually needs to look in the mirror and see who she's become. And so John and I, as we talked about intentions, we realized we wanted to tell this in mirrors. It feels like one long shot as we move in and out of mirrors, and you never know if you're in the mirror or out of the mirror. It's 5 Steadicam shots and 2 45-foot techno crane shots that are stitched together, and the stitch points all happen inside the mirror.
And so the camera had to push through the mirrors into what would be a mirror image of the set. And what does that mean for the set? That means the set has to be symmetrical. So we have to have a mirror here and a staircase here and another staircase here. It all has to be equal.
So we had to flip her just to be correct, together with the whole world. It took about, I'd say, 2.5 years.
She's the girl in the bubble.
We did 2 years of pre-prep. We just started building our team, and we share images with each other. We have this huge, what we call the war room, which had a big table in the middle. Nathan was putting models or concept art. I could put images that were inspiring me. Paul was putting his hand drawings of the costumes. And we just built and built and built until we could see the whole world we were creating together.
Some of the process is collaborative, where I create the design and create a sketch, choose fabrics that I think are most appropriate for representing the costume. The whole time, I'm observing how they're reacting to what the shape is and then asking questions. Does this feel appropriate for Elphaba? Does it feel appropriate for Glinda at this moment within the story?
It very early on became clear that the first movie would live in this effervescent daylight, and the second film would be steeped in maturity and density and shadow.
It's much more of a sort of journey film, and we head west. We've got to deal with how Elphaba becomes the Wicked Witch of the West. We have to crash through the forests and her nest, her secret hideout in Winky, all the way to Kiamiko, which is as far west as you can go. It's a complicated set because it involves an enormous amount of visual effects, but the core of it is in the design. How are we going to find a new look for a castle and to find something that belonged to Oz? And I also was determined to do something that connected it to the Grimmery and the land and magic, because it was so ancient. It could have connected to the time of the Grimmery, which I always thought was the time of the land, because that's where the magic comes from. So I really wanted to do a floating castle. I wanted to let it defy gravity. There's all these themes, which is a dangerous thing for a designer to go down. I have to be at this perfect blend with VFX, otherwise the audience feels it.
Well, we took everything that Nathan did and we just brought it into visual effects, and we designed a space that was 2 or 3 times larger than what we thought originally. Production design builds interiors to, let's say, 20, 25 feet, and exteriors to about 50, 55 feet, and then visual effects takes over. All the effects that we are doing are organic. The reason is, I think it's everybody's intention to have as much in camera as possible.
John always said, I want this movie to feel handmade. I don't want it to feel technical or rhythmic in some sort of computer way. He said he really wanted human touch. In my department, in lighting and camera, we did things like live lighting cues instead of having our cues timed into time code on the dimmer board, so that there's a level of imperfection. And I lit these films with every color of the rainbow, and you really see it in the second movie. Color means something in Oz, and I play with 2 colors. It's the blue, and blue is the color of Glinda and Elphaba's love. And you first see it in the Ozdas ballroom, and then we use the same color for the moonlight in For Good. And then orange is the color of Elphaba's transformation, the color of the orange flame. We used real flame light, and we see it in For Good when she ignites the fire and then all the monkeys start lighting the torches. We used real flame. We were covered in soot at the end of the day because the torches were huge, but you can't replicate flame light that way. And the orange color on Elphaba's green skin was just gorgeous.
And it was really discovering that color that had the fluorescent that threw back the light, which with Alice's input, it really left Cynthia to shine through and never left her looking slightly removed from the audience in any way.
I can't wait to cut it.
I'd have to say the biggest challenge was really, given the changes for Tin Man and Scarecrow, making those characters still be real, What I loved about them both was, along with John and Mark, the collaboration, and Mark Coolio, who was co-designed on him, made the prosthetics for us, we kept them so fine that you could really see that it was Boq that had turned to tin, and you could really feel that it was Fiyero that was still in love with Elphaba, even though he was covered in a burlap prosthetic. But with Boq in particular, it was the fineness, it gave the angular, and it gave the vibe and the feel of tin, but it really left that anger and that sadness that Boq was living, showed through it all. And as the tears ran down his face, we added rust to leave the tracks of the tears, so to speak. And just as time passed within that room, everything metal in that room attached to him. And when you look, there's the finest details. His ears are jug handles, you know. His teeth I had made of metal. They were cast, and they were just a very thin skim of metal. And then the blend from the eyes in the prosthetic and keeping those little angular cheeks, it all enhanced the storytelling, really.
You know, it was a lot of fun to envision what actually happens for these characters, because we have Fiyero, who becomes the Scarecrow. It was starting with his uniform, which is based on a hussar uniform covered in bullion banding and embroidery. What is a heroic wool and gold braid turns into sackcloth, and then the gold braid transforms to straw embroidery. It all translates into the Scarecrow language. And then his skin turns to sackcloth and his hair becomes grass and wheat as well. In the first Wicked film, you see on his sleeves there's embroidery that is wheat as well. So it's a little Easter egg that, you know, kind of acknowledges and suggests where he ends up going in the second film.
Fiyero, Fiyero.
What does the Scarecrow sound like? Designing it like the sound of the Tin Man. There was some expectation and just some real pinch me moments with that.
Some of my favorite sounds in both movies are just the seemingly mundane, you know, like a wheelchair or a typewriter or something like that. What's the Ozian version of that? They seem simple, but they tell a little story there. I think that sound, our hope is that it's a transparent art, so it doesn't pull focus from the story and allows just the film to be enhanced in a way that's not obvious.
I mean, it's a sneaky craft. You don't really realize in our day-to-day how sound communicates a story, how it communicates emotion, how someone walks into a room, the sound of their feet, when someone slams a door. There's all these seemingly like normal sounds, but like they're packed with a story and an emotional imprint. You work with that, the quality of Glinda's clicky-click footsteps versus Elphaba's, you know, solid, really grounded boop as she's walking in.
And also Wicked for Good has some larger, more challenging sound design set pieces than maybe in the first one.
The Cyclone for sure, for many reasons, but it's also, you think about The Wizard of Oz and you think about all these things that, like, my gosh, we've all grown up with The Wizard of Oz and knowing that about this tornado, and like here we are, we get to design what this thing sounds like, what it looks like.
The very end, right after For Good, there's a split screen of Elphaba and Glinda, and it harkens back to the first musical number they're in together, What Is This Feeling, where it plays on split screens. And those split screens we shot individually. They weren't even in the same room sometimes doing them. But this one, John wanted it to be them to be able to say goodbye to each other together at the exact same time. He told Nathan that, and Nathan's like, well, we're shooting this tomorrow. The only way to do it is to completely rip the set apart. And John said, okay, that's fine. And Nathan's like, but if you pull the set apart, you can't shoot anything else here. And John's like, we just shot For Good. We have to shoot this tomorrow. And so overnight, they ripped the wall out, and we put our camera there, and it's just a still static shot, and it's an in-camera split screen where Glinda's on one side in the coolness of the closet, and Elphaba is on her left side of screen with the warm torchlight. And we don't move, and we just wait and sit in just like this restrained silence, and I love that we got to do it that way.
when I'm cutting for good and I'm crying while I'm watching these dailies, and I'm seeing two incredible actors in Cynthia and Ari showing how much they long for each other and what this friendship means to each other, and they're saying goodbye to one another, and that's affecting me. I'm trying to make sure that the audience feels the same way. I think landing the plane and the ending was probably the hardest for me. It's like, how do we end this saga? How do we make the audience feel satisfied with the conclusion of this journey with two characters? That took a lot of experimentation. We just ripped this thing apart so many different times. There was scenes in there with more dialogue that we pared back. We restructured quite a bit. The last shot of the film wasn't scripted that way. And so we're just trying to find the power, the operatic nature of that ending.
Wicked is a unique experience where it really felt the collaboration between each department was so informative to each other. You're really inspired by the excellence that everyone else is bringing to the table.
It was maybe the best collaboration I've ever had artistically in my career, and it's been pretty long, so it's really great to be able to say that.
It's very rare that you get the people, the project, the resources. This one we got 3. One of the things that I think after doing visual effects for 30 years that I realized is that it's about the people that you work with.
When I met John on Crazy Rich Asians, it was like meeting my cinematic soulmate. And then I was, of course, meeting Alice Brooks. And I think with every film that we've done together, we just get better at our craft.
So John Chu and I first met over half our lives ago at USC Film School. He asked me to shoot his short film, a musical called When the Kids Are Away. And we bonded over our love of musicals. And this was pre-Moulin Rouge, pre-Chicago. The Hollywood musical was dead. And we were just these 2 kids who had this dream of one day growing up and making musicals.
For good.